Would you ever consider selling everything, buying an RV, and living on the road full time? This is the RV Life Podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt.
We have been full-time on the road for almost 2 years. We create content for our YouTube channel, and we now create content for our podcast. Our podcast is here to educate, entertain, and explore the RV life.
Now, today we are really excited because this is our first solo show. We do not have a guest today. The guest is us. And our topic today is, why did we decide to go full-time in the RV lifestyle?
But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about a fun fact. Does anybody know how many people are full-time on the road as of today?
I know.
Yes, Dan.
1 million. Actually, it's a little bit over 1 million people actually live on the road full time.
That number honestly just amazed me. As Dan and I are on the road full time, we meet so many people. Some people are 6 months out of the year on the road. Sometimes people are RVers, so they come out on the weekends or a week when they have off. I did not think there were 1 million full-time RVers.
You know, 1 million people is a lot of people. And to get that, like a normal football stadium holds about 50,000 people.
That puts it in perspective for us.
It's real. That's a lot of people, and I'm even thinking that number sounds or feels a little low to me, because maybe we're on the road full time and we see a lot of people that are out there on the road full time, but it seems like every campground we pull into, our next door neighbors are full time as well.
Yes, we always have those people that are on the road and they've been doing it. Some people very recent and some people for years and years on the road full time.
Now, we are going to actually interview ourselves today in this show. And this show really is for those people that are full-time, but how about those people that are thinking about going full-time, or maybe even don't have an idea of which side they want to be on?
So I'm going to say, whether you're full-time, part-time, sometime, or thinking about it, the RV Life Podcast is for you.
And we're going to get into the meat and potatoes right after this.
Selling your RV after years of enjoying it should not be painful. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or simply ready to sell, the experts at National Vehicle will help you set a proper valuation for your RV, list it, and sell it when you are ready. An RV valuation is always free at National Vehicle. Get started today by visiting nationalvehicle.com/RVlife. When it comes to understanding the true value of your RV, reach out to the experts at National Vehicle. Clear 2O continues to bring its expanding line of water filtration products to RVers with innovations such as their DirtGuard sediment pre-filter, their 1-micron solid carbon block inline water filter, and a wide variety of high-quality filters for your RV's whole house filter system. When it comes to clean water for your RV life, the answer is clear. Clear 2O. Visit clear2o.com and use the coupon code RVLifePodcast to save an additional 5% on every purchase.
They are full-time RVers for almost 2 years now. They're international public speakers. They are both teachers. They have an RV lifestyle YouTube channel, and now they are podcasters.
And he is talking about us. And I got to say, it's still a little weird to hear somebody talk about me.
Well, this is our first solo show. Now, we are going to have guests on our show every week, but we'll say 1 out of 6, maybe 1 out of 8 shows, we're going to do a solo show and just talk about what's going on. But we thought for this first solo show, we'd talk about our decision to go full time.
And that is a story, but let me break it down. So it was during 2020, and we all know what happened our business was totally shut down. As Dan always says, money was going out, but nothing was coming in. And Dan had me come up to his office and said, hey, I got an idea.
Wait.
Wait.
Let's just act this out. Let's do it theatrically.
Okay.
Hey, Patty, what do you think if we sold everything and bought an RV?
And that's exactly what happened. And then I looked up and said, wait, you're serious.
Now, this didn't come out of the blue. When I first started dating Patty, before we were ever married, one day we were out in the Westchester area in Philadelphia where we lived, and we pulled into an RV dealership and probably spent most of the afternoon there.
And I'm going to say, for me, it came out of the blue. Who knew that was a setup for him actually wanting to go in an RV full time?
Now, I told her, I said, you know what? We will see every national park in the country. How great would that be?
And I wasn't so sure about that. But if you ask us now how many national parks we've been to date, that number would be 0.
That's right. We have not been to one national park in the entire country yet.
When we started thinking about going full time, our mission for a long time had been the idea of inspiring people. As Dan said, we were international public speakers with the mission of inspiring people to get out and live life fully. So I still wanted to be able to create that if we were on the road. So how are we going to do that?
Well, you know what? What we did first is, we got some of our cameras together. Now, mind you, remember, I have been a director, producer, actor in the entertainment industry for basically my entire life. And so we had a lot of equipment and we had all the stuff that we needed. So we went out and did some test shoots. Remember those?
Oh, yes. That was before we even bought the RV. So to convince me that we could do these great videos, and it really did, it was for a great mission. And that was to encourage people to get out during this time, that there would be things out there that they can do and enjoy. So we went around the Las Vegas area, and there's more to the Las Vegas area than the Las Vegas Strip. And we started to do videos. We were creating content. Most of it was fun.
Yeah, most of it was fun. But what happened is, we came home one day and some friends of ours were there and we had all this camera gear around, and he said, well, what are you doing? And we told him what our plan was. And he said, well, let me see. And so we threw up what we did that day on the TV, unedited, unlooked at. And it turns out that he was an executive from the CW network. And he asked us to do 4 shows on Las Vegas about getting out and doing things, even while COVID was having things shut down.
Right. And it was so cool to be able to get out there and do it. But I got to tell you, from the time Dan made the request, the idea of going full time, and me laughing and realizing he was serious, to the time we actually bought the RV, we're talking about 2.5 months. So when I hear people say planning for 2 years to go full time, it's kind of very different than what we chose to do. But we got those. We were creating the content for the TV show. You were editing, and we went to Colorado to pick up the RV, and that's a story in itself.
Let's tell that story. It's just such a good story.
So we fly into Colorado to pick up an RV. We finally found
Colorado Springs,
Colorado. We finally found the RV we thought was right for us because it fits the cappuccino machine in it. Very important.
Some people are going to laugh at that, but we really turned away an RV that was, for every other reason, perfect for us, but it was about 3 inches short for her cappuccino maker, and that was a must. It
was a must, and there was no space in that RV. So we fly to Colorado Springs, Colorado. The newspaper article said it was the coldest day in 125 years. So here we are picking up our RV.
It was something like negative 15 or 18 degrees, something like that.
I can't even remember. Yes, it was
Oh my
cold.
God, it was cold. But we got through it. We went to the RV. We had it, and this is something I think that we can really, really talk about the people who are out there looking for an RV, especially a used RV in the market today. We had an inspector go and look at the RV before we ever got on a plane and made the deal. And the inspector gave us a report on the RV. As a matter of fact, when I talked to him, he said, listen, if you don't buy this RV, you got to let me know because I'm going to go buy the RV. So it was in pretty good shape. The paint job, not so much, but everything else on this RV was in really, really good shape.
And there is where our adventure began. We then traveled from Colorado Springs, Colorado to New Mexico and then over to Las Vegas. And there were rules that we had set up. So many rules, right?
So many rules. Let's just talk about the first 3 rules, okay?
Yes.
The first 3 rules. So the first 3 rules were we didn't really want to drive at night in the dark. Again, I hadn't driven an RV maybe in 10 years. I had owned an RV in the past, and in the movie business, we have RVs a lot, but I didn't really want to drive in the dark. Okay. We didn't really want to drive in the snow.
In the snow, right. No driving in the snow.
Okay. So we're going to take those first 2 rules first. We didn't want to drive in the dark and we didn't want to drive in the snow. We left Colorado Springs and we were driving 15 minutes down the road. What happened?
And it didn't just start to snow. Now, I grew up in Philadelphia, so I know snow. It was like a blizzard. You couldn't see that kind of snow. So if anybody's ever been in snow, picture it in your head. You're driving, you can't see in front of you, or better yet, you're in your home watching this blizzard of snow. So rule number 1 was broken. We did, after a few minutes, have to pull into a rest stop. Thankfully, there was one, because we did not want to continue on that
it was
snowy
funny.
Day.
It was funny because the state trooper was there and I talked to him about the snow and he said, what you need to do is just wait about 15 minutes because every 15 minutes the weather changes here. Now, we were on our way to a Boondockers Welcome, which is now Boondockers Welcome and Harvest Host. Strongly recommend that organization. We use it all the time, but we were on our way to a Boondockers Welcome site in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We didn't know these people at all.
And what was really cool, so this is our maiden voyage. We've already dealt with snow. It's starting to get late because we're way behind. So we didn't want to break rule number 2 at this point. And Marianne started texting me and said, what's your time frame? She was so wonderful and so nice because we realized that we weren't going to get there until dark. And we had heard that you really shouldn't pull into a Harvest Host or Boondockers Welcome at dark. So now I was in a
for that matter.
or some campgrounds. So I was kind of panicked, but Marianne talked us through it. When we got there, Neil actually helped us back in.
I have to say though, when we pulled up to their driveway and Neil was out in front of the driveway helping us back in, it was snowing and it was dark.
Rule numbers 1 and 2 broken.
Gone right out the window.
Right out the window.
So that was interesting. But what was really great about that is that I have to tell you, Neil and Marianne have become mentors, friends, and camping buddies. I mean, we've met them around the country, so that they have become really close friends of ours.
I have to say here, when people ask me what's been your favorite thing to do or favorite thing to see or your favorite experience, there have been a lot of them. And now in almost 2 years, we have done a lot. But I have to say, the best part of this lifestyle is the people that we have met, the true connections, the friends. That's what's been amazing for me.
Well, that's all good stuff. But the best part of owning an RV is that horn right there. I just love my horn. Every time I go across the state line, I hit my horn. Now, we got back to our house in Las Vegas, and it was great. But we were kind of under the gun because we had 4 episodes of a TV show that we were recording it, we were filming it, we were starring in it, we were writing it, and I was editing it, and we are in the process of selling everything we own. How'd that go for you? Because I don't remember much of that.
Yeah, because you were not there, but that's okay. I would rather sell everything pretty much we own than edit a video. That is not my forte. But that's interesting, and that'll be a conversation in the future of what do you get rid of? How do you sell everything? Again, a conversation for another time, but I went about clearing out this house. So in 3 weeks' time, cleared it out, had yard sales, posted on Facebook Marketplace, and got everything sold.
Yes, we got everything sold. We got everything that we needed down into the RV.
Well, I don't know that I'd say that. There were a lot of things in the RV I'm not sure we needed. And there still might be things in there we don't need.
Exactly. But, we did get it down so we could actually drive away. We were overweight when we left.
Don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. But caution, pro tip, whatever you want to call it. Number 1, weight in an RV is really, really important.
Now, I have a funny story on weight.
Oh.
Let me tell my funny story on weight. So
ahead.
Here we are loading up the RV with all kinds of sound equipment. We have speakers that are 2.5 foot high and weigh about, 30, 40, 50 pounds each. There's 2 of them. And then when I brought out my shoes, Dan told me they were too heavy.
She brought out 45 pairs of shoes.
He's exaggerating. Just a little bit, but he's exaggerating.
Okay, well, anyway, we got ourselves on the road, and that was great that we did get ourselves on the road. And once we got ourselves on the road, we had our first month, and Patty had a great idea, and I'm going to kind of strongly recommend this idea for any, every, and all people out there, and that is to that first, when you go full-time, stay close to your home base or wherever you just came from. And that's what we did. We decided to go to Lake Mead, which is only about 30 miles away from where we lived in Las Vegas. And we went to this Lake Mead. It's called Boulder Beach Campground. We have a video on our YouTube channel about that.
Yes.
But it was great. We stayed there for the first month.
What I really wanted to make sure we did was get used to the RV because we had picked it up, and I think it was 3 weeks later we were out of the house and in the RV. So I really wanted to make sure that we were used to it. I wanted to make sure that all that equipment that was packed was organized properly. And that's something I got to say is organizing. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Here's another pro tip that we learned the hard way. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Don't try and do it all at one time. Take your time. Go easy on yourself. Get a section. So we spent a month at Lake Mead, and I probably organized and reorganized 6 times, 7 times. I'm still organizing.
One of the things that I really think you need to talk about is, remember we came from that negative 15 temperature? And the previous owners, and we love the people that had this RV. They're just great, great people. But one of the things that they did that they probably shouldn't have done is they put that pink de-icer stuff, antifreeze, in the freshwater tank. How'd that work for you, Patty?
It did not work. Now, what a lot of people don't know is I'm very sensitive to smells. That's weird being in an RV, but we won't talk about that right now. But every time I use the tank, I could smell this stuff. It's just a subtle smell. It's pink every time you turn a faucet on. Now, here's what Dan didn't mention. When I said I wanted to go the first month close by, I didn't realize that this Lake Mead Boulder Beach campground is dry camping. Yes, you heard me right. There's water that you could fill your tank up with, but to dump, you have to pack up your whole RV, go to there's an area at Boulder Campground to dump. But because our tanks were filled with pink stuff, there was a lot of dumping. So the one thing we learned a lot is how to pack up, pull out, and back the RV back in.
And, we did that we got really good at it. But we met some people that were camping right near us. And again, here's two people that have become our friends. We've camped with them really all over the country. But they gave us some really great tips as we got started.
Yes, they did. And I want to thank John and Terry for being so helpful. And you'll find that when you are RVing, a lot of times you meet people and everybody has thoughts, opinions, suggestions. Sometimes different people have different thoughts about the same thing. Take it all in and then decide which things work for you. But John and Terry gave us a lot of great tips. I'm grateful that we were there for the month and they were there.
Pro tip number 17. And this is one of the first tips that we really learned. And John came up to Patty while we were backing in on the 17th time. That's why I call it pro tip number 17. Is the person outside of the RV on the walkie-talkie helping you back in your 40-foot RV into a camp spot?
That would be me.
That would be you.
Yes.
The outside person, in our case, my wife, that's the person in charge. The driver just has to do what they say because the driver can't see the far side of the RV, the back of the RV, the tree, and especially in these campgrounds, these stupid little big rocks that they outline the sites with.
Yes. And this then is really a lesson in being married, being in a relationship, communication. From what I understand, some relationships don't survive it. And I can understand that.
Yeah. As we move on, we dry camp for that first month. We learned a lot. We met some great people, sat around a lot of great campfires. But by the end of that first month, it was time to us to head to the east. Now, when you're traveling from the west to the east, you kind of have to plan what you're going to do. So we do. We are very good at planning. As a matter of fact, we have our sponsor, our name sponsor of the podcast is RV Trip Wizard, and RV Trip Wizard. We don't move the RV without RV Trip Wizard.
Now, the best thing about RV Trip Wizard is that you can make changes to your plans on the fly. Because while we plan, and that first day out that we had it all planned, we have the RV packed up, we're heading out, we know the road, we have our RV Safe GPS, thanks to RV Trip Wizard. And an hour in, we get a call and get invited to a Model T Ford rally. So now we have to change our plans.
Yeah. So from this event where we left and literally an hour out of Lake Mead, we get the call from Neil and Marianne's, our friends in Albuquerque, saying, can you get here on Saturday morning? And it was Thursday night because of this. Now, this might be one of my lifetime dreams to go on a Model T rally. So we went into rocket mode and made it at 6 a.m. on Saturday morning to Neil and Marianne's house. But this is where the saying where we talk about our plans and we talk about planning. Well, nowadays we don't call them plans. We call them our current thought.
Yes, because you make your plans and we suggest making them, but just know that things change. And for us, they seem to change a lot. And it's about being flexible.
Flexible. And that's what life is all about. So when we get back, we'll take you from Albuquerque all the way to Philadelphia. But first, let's hear from our name sponsor, RV Trip Wizard.
When traveling in your RV, how do you navigate? Do you use a paper map, a GPS, or do you use Google Maps? Our sponsor, RV Trip Wizard, has the solution, and it just works.
It just works. And that's right. I mean, it just works. And literally, we do not move our RV 1 inch without mapping out a plan in RV Trip Wizard.
Even when the plans change, it does make it easy to make those changes. So now, where are we?
Where are we?
In the country?
Well, we left Albuquerque. We went to our partner's house that's in Kansas. And then we scooted across. We stayed at a couple, some great wineries we stayed at. You know, Harvest Host is, again, not a sponsor. They're not a sponsor of either. Now, we have been on their podcast, but I got to tell you, we've been to some incredible wineries as we made our way across the country to the Philadelphia area.
Yeah. So the one thing about living in an RV full time, we had decided that it'd be great to be able to see our 5 kids. 4 of them are married, and we have 9 grandkids, and they're spread out. We have Oregon, we have Maryland, we have the Philadelphia area. So they're pretty spread out. So one of our goals was to make sure we were going to get to spend time with them. So we're going back to Philadelphia, where most of our family is.
And this is where we learned about something called mooch docking.
Ooh, that's the best. If you're just now learning about RVing, you want to write mooch docking down. That's something you want to know. And that's where you mooch on somebody's land. It's finding a place that you could park your RV, often without hookups, but sometimes some of your friends have hookups.
Now, a very close friend of mine over the years has been Cindy. And Cindy, we love you. And we stayed, her family has a farm. And we stayed on this farm, and it was, my God, it was just beautiful.
It really was. We parked and we overlooked the whole field and watched the sunset. And the best part, again, was just having a great time with Cindy. She would come out and help us with our videos for our YouTube channel.
Right.
And she loved it. And boy, do we miss having her.
Oh, my God. I wish she could be with us all the time. It was just great. But it was also, you know, just 20 minutes to one set of grandkids' house, 20 minutes to another set of grandkids' house, and 20 minutes to your mom's house. So it was really well located for us to spend some time there. And, you know, it was great to spend time in the Philadelphia region, but I got a call. I got a call from a network that I had pitched a television show to before COVID started. Like, so 2 years before, we pitched a television show, and I'm standing in the middle of the pasture, and he says to me, Dan, we just got a term sheet for your show, and we need you to come back to Las Vegas right away.
So again, plans change. First thing we did was get on our GPS, RV Trip Wizard, and what's the best way to get back from Philadelphia to Las Vegas? The best, the quickest way to do that. And off we went.
5 days. We made it in 5 days across the country. We don't recommend that.
No, don't do that.
You know, one of our other episodes of the RV Life podcast, we interviewed a couple, and they are a musical group called the Status Crows. He gave us probably one of the best nuggets of advice I've heard since I started RVing.
He said, take your time. And while that seems like a very simple piece of advice, anybody starting out or who has even been on the road, take your time. What Dan and I always say, and what we've talked about at RV shows, what we've spoken about is enjoy the journey. You have to be able to enjoy the journey. Now, rushing back to Las Vegas for a potential business deal, maybe we should have just flown back. But keep those things in mind as you travel around. Take your time. Enjoy the journey.
So anyway, we're back to Philadelphia. Patty had some family situations that she really kind of needed to get back to Philly. So I guess you got on an airplane and went back to Philly.
Yeah. So we get to Las Vegas, we get parked, we get settled in the campground, and 2 days later, I headed back to Philadelphia.
This is where we get to pro tip number, I don't even know. I'll call it 19. So pro tip number 19 for me is you have to understand how to do everything, all the jobs on an RV when you're moving or hooking up the car or doing any of those kinds of things. Because quite frankly, hooking up the car is Patty's job. I rarely do it. I rarely get involved in it because she's got it. She knows what to do. She knows how to do it. Well, Patty was in Philadelphia and I had to move from one campground to another campground.
That didn't go well.
Disaster.
He actually called me and said, okay, I'm hooking up the car. Just want to make sure I'm doing it right. And I was in the middle of 2 or 3 different things simultaneously. When you have those kinds of days, and he was frantic almost. And I'm trying to talk him through it. Well, anyway, as you can imagine, as I set up the scenario, it did go well. He got the car to where you needed it to be. It was about 30 minutes away. But when he got it there, it was dead. Absolutely dead.
Dead as a doornail. And that's because I left the key on. So for the 5 or 6 hours that I was driving and hooking up before I unhooked it again, the power was on the car. So it's like leaving your lights on the car, basically. And lesson number 19 learned.
Right. Here's the other thing. I said 30 minutes. He said 5 to 6 hours. I guess that's what it felt like to him. This is totally unscripted.
Yes, totally unscripted. So anyway, take your time is a big lesson. And that's going to move us right into, probably 6, 8, maybe even a year in and talking about making sure that you have all the plans. Our friends, Phil and Stacy over at Today is Someday, right?
Yes.
So our friends Phil and Stacy over at Today is Someday, they are a YouTube channel. She makes up this sticker basically that you put either on your refrigerator or inside one of your cabinets. And we never thought that it would be important. We never thought that we would need something like that. But unfortunately, we pulled into a campground and I went down and laid down. The next thing I know is there was a bunch of firemen and ambulance guys in our RV.
So what this paper is that Phil and Stacy recommend is, like Dan said, either on the refrigerator or in the cabinet, knowing where you are. Because we travel all the time, we often don't know what day it is. So knowing the address. Now, I do it a little different because I don't yet necessarily use a whole lot of paper pencil. I think they use like a whiteboard so they can wipe it off. I just have on my phone the location of the campground we're staying in. So I could quickly pull that up very quickly and then tell the ambulance people where we were located, the address, the site number, and all of those things. But it is about being prepared. The other things to be aware of is insurance being on the road. I don't think we have time to get deep into that today.
I think that might be a whole podcast.
Yes,
just talking
probably
about
a whole podcast.
Health insurance on the road.
And bringing some professionals in on it. But also the fact that Dan was in the hospital and he was there for a couple of weeks. But people around me were very helpful and supportive. We were in Las Vegas, so while I have friends there, I didn't have family, but the support of the people around me. And again, that's one of the reasons we love being on the road, even in situations like that. I do not drive the RV, which contradicts what Dan just suggested, that everybody knows how to do everything. I had a neighbor that said, if you have to move, I'm happy to move it for you. So that the community is probably the biggest, most important thing living on the road.
It really is. Knowing where you are and it sounds silly, but they got me out of the bed. They put me in the ambulance and they had these heart things on me and they had oxygen on me and all this kind of stuff. And the guy said, well, what hospital do you want to go to? I'm like, what? I was barely conscious. I mean, I was barely conscious. And so like when you pull into someplace, getting that kind of information, I think is a little more important today than what I thought it was before. Okay. Where are we today?
So we've given people a lot of information and a lot of tips. And as we said in the beginning, our podcast is to entertain and educate and help you explore the RV life. And that is hopefully filled with not only us giving you tips, but bringing on guests that give the information that our listeners are wanting to hear. So where are we today? Literally, we're in Virginia. We're in we're in my bedroom at my brother's house, which makes doing a podcast a little more complicated. Just a little bit more complicated.
But you know what? We're going to get it done. We have a setup that is a mobile setup, so we can take it anywhere that we want to go. We are almost 2 years in on the road, not quite 2 years yet, but we're almost. And I got to tell you, I love this lifestyle.
It's funny that you say that because everybody always asks me. Now, the one thing we didn't mention in the story is prior to getting in this RV and going full time, I hadn't even really been camping. So it was all brand new. So people often ask me, are you still liking it? And the answer is yes, I am loving it. And I realize that full-time RVing is for me when we are staying somewhere for a week or 2 weeks. By 3 weeks, I'm ready to go again. So that tells me this is, we've got more time on the road.
And, as a community, how do I say it nicely? I honestly believe that the RV community, they're some of the best people in the world. They are so helpful. It is so great. I can't tell you how many random people we have sat around a campfire and just talked and told stories and learned about their lives and they learned about our lives. I just absolutely love what we do. I love that we have a YouTube channel so we can take people along with us. It has just, been an experience and three halves.
I couldn't agree more. And we chose to do a podcast to give another platform for sharing tips and, bringing experts on to give their advice and information to other people living on the road. If you're full-time or part-time or sometimes, like we said in the beginning. I really love this new part of our adventure.
And speaking of experts, right after the break, we're going to bring Patrick Buchanan from RV Life. It's going to be a normal piece that we have in every week's show, and that is the RV Life Pro Tip of the Week. And not only that, we're going to have a question of the week from you, our listeners. Every week, we're going to have a different person come on and ask a question, and we'll do our best to answer that question or get the answer to that question. All that is coming up on the RV Life podcast right after this.
Selling your RV after years of enjoying it should not be painful. Whether you're upgrading, downsizing, or simply ready to sell, the experts at National Vehicle will help you set a proper valuation for your RV, list it, and sell it when you are ready. An RV valuation is always free at National Vehicle. Get started today by visiting nationalvehicle.com/RVLife. When it comes to understanding the true value of your RV, reach out to the experts at National Vehicle.
Why end your camping season when it gets cold? With the inflatable RV skirting system from Air Skirts, you could extend your camping season year-round. Reach out to Jim and his team by visiting airskirts.com for more information. RV Life podcast listeners get $100 off a kit order when you use code RVPOD. That is RVPOD for $100 off.
This is the RV Life podcast. I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt. And we are so happy that you have joined us on this first episode show. We are so excited to have you as guest, and we hope that you keep coming back for more and more and more.
Can I talk a little bit about the sponsor, and that is Air Skirts? They are people, and this product that we saw in Hershey, and as a lot of people have said, it is genius. So it really keeps your RV warm. We encourage you to check it out. And we have one of their coolers that is an inflatable cooler. So when we're not using it, it folds down into a nice compact carrying case. The owner, Jim, is as genius as the product. It's just amazing.
Now, you can get a link to that product down in the show notes, okay? And there's also a 25% discount code down there. So you might want to check that out if you have any interest in them. We strongly recommend them, not only for a quality product, but just quality people to work with. We just enjoy those people so much. Okay, it is time now for one of my favorite segments in the show, and that is the RV Life Pro Tip from Patrick Buchanan.
Our RV Life Pro Tip this week is about the satellite view that's built into RV Life Trip Wizard. When planning a trip in Trip Wizard, click on the map settings, then map style, and choose satellite map. This will give you a Google Earth view that you can use right inside Trip Wizard to zoom in and check out campgrounds, fuel stops, rest areas, restaurants, anywhere you need to check for parking space or accessibility for your RV. When you're done, you can go back to Street Map View from the Map Style menu. To see Satellite View in action, check out the RV Life podcast on Instagram. I'm Pat Buchanan with your RV Life Pro Tip of the Week.
The satellite view on the RV Trip Wizard is just invaluable. That's the word I'm going to use here, because you can, what it says, take a satellite view of an RV park or a bridge or a tunnel that you're not sure you want to take your RV through, and you just simply click, like Patrick explained. It is incredible.
You know, there's a lot of times where I might have to pull into a gas station or a grocery store or something like that, and I'm not sure what the best way to get out is. And, you know, I can just look at the phone, look at whatever. It is absolutely incredible. Thank you, Patrick. We will be back with you next week as well. And now we're going to go to my favorite part of the show. That is the question of the week.
So each week we will take a question from our listeners. Some will be recorded and some will read, but we'll take a question each week that we will answer, and at times bring on experts that might help answer the question as well. Now, today's question comes from David W. from Salina, Kansas, and his question was, where do you shop for groceries?
Now, we are going to bring in an expert for this one. The expert that I'm bringing in for this one is the best shopper in the entire United States, my wife, Patti Hunt.
We actually thought this was a funny question because I said to him, where do you go shopping? So the short answer is, we go shopping the same places that everybody else does. We still have a Costco membership. And I will say we have those Super Saver shopper cards from every grocery store across the country.
You know, I have an app in my phone. It's called CardStar, and it's a free app. And you can just put all of those little shopper barcodes in there. And I literally, when Patty says we have a card from every store chain in the country, that is absolutely true. We have a card from every every grocery store in the country.
Yes, we do. Now, let's talk a little bit about next week's show. We're so excited to talk to somebody who is incredible on organizing. Yes, how to organize your RV. She gives us a lot of tips to help you, because I know for so many people, that is a big struggle.
You know, this woman came into RV our RV about a year ago. And I don't know any other way to say it. She changed our lives.
Yes, he says that all the time.
She really did change our lives. She changed things around. It's a great show. We had a lot of fun doing that show with her.
Yeah, so stay tuned for her show in just a couple of days. Now, we want to share with you where you can connect with us, and that's on our social media channels, Instagram and Facebook, and it is RV Life Podcast. How simple is that name? You can't forget it. So reach out to us on social media, ask questions. Maybe yours will be the question of the week. Make suggestions and let us know if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast. In our show notes, we're also going to give you all the information that pertains to everything we discussed on this show.
Yes, and I will say that we sit and look at every single post that somebody puts, every time somebody writes to us, we will sit and we will answer you back.
I think that's me he's talking about. But yes, we answer every question. We listen to every comment. We look at every suggestion. So we really appreciate it.
Well, that's it for this week's show. I want to thank everybody for joining us this week. It has been a great time to bring you this show, and we look forward to being with you every single week on the RV Life Podcast. From Manassas, Virginia. Is that where
Yes, we are in Virginia.
We are
Yes.
in Manassas Park, Virginia. So from Manassas Park, Virginia, I'm Dan Hunt with my incredible wife, Patti Hunt, saying have a great rest of today.
And an even better day tomorrow.